Hello everybody, welcome to the Wonky Angle, where I talk about electronic music, both new and old. And today, it's Knife Party, Abandoned Ship. Are you ready, people, for one of my most anticipated reviews? I've been getting requests to cover this one for a long time now, and it's finally time to get to it. Now, I've seen lots and lots of varying opinions on this thing over the years. Some people love it, some people hate it. Seems with this album, Swire McGrillen wanted to branch out more and try new things. This album, alongside a small handful of tracks that were in their usual wheelhouse, had a lot of different styles and experiments they'd never really tried before. Some people hated it because how dare these guys try to change, right? Despite the fact that the whole reason Knife Party exists was for Swire McGrillen to branch off the usual pendulum style. But whatever. When you really get down to it though, not a lot had changed on this album. I mean, they weren't really pushing the boundaries of music itself or anything. Just trying a variety of popular EDM styles while often simultaneously making fun of them. Now, I haven't exactly been impressed with other joke songs of theirs like El Rad or Plur Police. So, if this album is half a joke, how well were they able to stick the landing? How many of these experiments actually paid off instead of just being cheesy in a big EDM cringe fest? The answer to this question appears to highly vary from person to person, but for me personally, this album is a ton of fun to listen to. Heck, in terms of pure personal enjoyment, I think this album even surpasses In Silico, even though I probably have more respect for that one, and I think they put more effort into that one. But yeah, Abandoned Ship is easily the best thing Knife Party has ever done. There's obviously nothing really tying the songs together, and it's basically a compilation of Swire McGrillen wondering, hey, what if we tried this popular EDM style, or this popular EDM style? But honestly, almost all of them stick the landing for me. I think the only track on here that I didn't really care for was probably the most popular track on here, Boss Mode, which I think was like half parody of trap music or something. Like, I think it's taking the piss out of DJ Snake or something. I mean, the voice clip that says slightly different when the main melody changes a little is kind of the tip off that this is another joke song, but it's really not one of the most fun to listen to tracks they've ever made. Granted, it's far from the worst thing they've made. It's at least distinctive in their catalog, but There's another track on here that tries some Middle Eastern inspired style here, Red Dawn. I think that personally pulls it off in a much more enjoyable fashion, but I guess it comes down to your tastes. That being said, I don't skip Boss Mode either, it's not terrible or anything. The rest on here is solid. You got some stuff that's really not risky at all for them, like the intro Reconnect, which vaguely reminds me of Prelude from Hold Your Color and Genesis from Immersion, in that it's really supposed to hype you up for what you're about to hear. Or the Electro House banger Resistance, which isn't a far cry from other tracks of theirs in this style, like Internet Friends or Power Glove. See, EDM fanboys, I corrected myself. 404 is also done in this style, kinda like the alternate version of Internet Friends that centers around a computer error theme. Really like this track too, it's a really fun one. In terms of modern dubstep, there's really only Give It Up, which is basically Bonfire Part 2, but I think it actually manages to match Bonfire quality-wise too. Really fun and intense track, and the drop is really catchy too, just like Bonfire's. I like this one. The rest of this album surprisingly isn't quite as aggressive. At least it's less loud and noisy purely for the sake of it, and more focused on, like, melodies and stuff. No more trying to be intimidating and scary. It's just making music that's fun. You got stuff on here like the straightforward pop EDM of Begin Again, which I admittedly didn't really like when I first heard it, because, like, it's kind of generic and there's not really a lot to it. But it's since become a major grower. First of all, it's great to hear Rob Swire singing again. Now, I'm sure watching Pendulum close out their comeback set at Ultra Music Festival certainly didn't hurt either. But after having come to realize this is the closest Knife Party have ever come to sounding like Pendulum, I will certainly take it. There's also 2 disco-inspired tracks on here, EDM Trend Machine and Superstar, both of which poke fun at their audience who expect them to do more of the same stuff over and over. Superstar does it a bit more overtly, with its sarcastic vocoder saying, "What is this disco shit? What happened to the dubstep?" EDM Trend Machine is a bit more subtle with its piss-taking, but like right before both of its drops, it pretends to emulate a different shitty style that otherwise would have killed the song had they not just done a record scratch after 3 beats and switched over to a much better sounding, like, disco, glitchy sort of drop. This track is also, I think, kind of a piss take at Martin Garrix the first time, and then I think Flux Pavilion the second time. Still, jokes aside, both are just really solid and fun to listen to tracks. Speaking of joke songs, let's talk about Micro Penis, the biggest elephant in the room joke song on the whole album. I kinda have mixed feelings on this track because on one hand it is incredibly stupid and sticks out like a sore thumb in the same way like the Salmon Dance does on the Chemical Brothers' We Are the Night. But on the other hand, this track is so absurd, I can't help but like it. Between the sound effects in the intro, they're like clearly acting out some guy waking up in the morning and discovering the horrifyingly disappointing size of his genitals, to the out-of-nowhere chiptune section that makes no sense in context. The only thing I can think of how this section fits in at all is because the track said, "You need to use what little power you have to save the world." And I guess maybe Swire and McGrillen are saying, like, assholes who want to take over the world have small penises? That's the best I can come up with, really. Very weird song, and not one you'd ever want to play in public unless your name happens to be Rob Swire or Gareth McGrillen. But still, I don't skip this one either, despite its stupidity. That basically leaves D.I.M.H, which stands for The Dance in My Heart, another more poppy EDM song that is weirdly a ton of fun to listen to. And Kaleidoscope, the closer, handled by Swire alone, and seems to be done in Eric Prydz style. A bit more like progressive house kind of thing, I think. And like Prydz, also very satisfying, a lot of fun to listen to. And since I believe I've now covered every song on the album, what do I think of the album as a whole? Well, I mean, it's not perfect or anything, and it's not really aiming high as far as dance music goes, but as I've said several times in this video, it's just a lot of fun. I mean, I've always liked Knife Party and the movement they were a part of, mainly because it was just mindless fun. And here they are making stuff that's a bit more up my alley than usual. They're really owning their identity as a mindless fun type of band, and just going all out with it. It's not deep or endlessly interesting. It's not super layered like In Silico. It doesn't suddenly shoot upwards in quality with a lot of repeat listens. Well, it does go upward in quality with repeat listens, but not by a huge amount. But it's just fun. Nothing else to it, really. And before I close out this discography review, I'd like to briefly discuss the recent reunion of Pendulum. How they're touring now, I believe, and maybe, just maybe, might make a 4th album. I, for one, am pretty excited, even though I don't think you really need to add to their discography as is. I kind of consider this album to more or less be an unofficial 4th Pendulum album, as it's basically what I would have wanted out of something like that, i.e. not just pulling the same old tricks they always do like they did on Immersion. If Pendulum were to release another Immersion as their 4th album, I would probably not give it that high a rating, because I know Swire and company are better than that. And Abandoned Ship is proof of that, showing they can really be fun and adventurous when they want to be. I really respect that about these guys, how they're able to step out of their comfort zone without giving up who they are or compromising the quality of their music. I've heard rumors that if Pendulum does make an official 4th album, then it's probably not going to be just straight drum and bass like the others. And if so, I'm definitely excited. But in the meantime, Abandoned Ship is a great album, and I highly recommend giving it a shot. I'm overall feeling a solid 8 out of 10. But of course, this is just my opinion. You can feel free to disagree with it, but I'd like to hear your thoughts, so leave the comments in the comment thing down there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all for today. See you next time.